Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video we're going to be discussing how Bitcoin is following through on a very similar pattern to what happened in June and July of 2016. And it's bullish. It's actually very bullish. As you will well know, Bitcoin is a cyclical market and oftentimes repeats history. Even if it doesn't repeat it exactly, it normally follows it roughly. So in this video, we're going to be showing you exactly how Bitcoin played out the last time that we went through this market cycle back in 2016. By the end of this video, you're going to walk away with a better understanding of why Bitcoin finds itself in the position that it does right now, why we're actually more bullish now than we were back at the beginning of the 2015 through 17 bull market, and why the correction we're in right now is more than likely going to be coming to an end in the next 2 to 3 months, probably less time than that. By the end of this video, you're going to understand how you should be trading and investing in this market. So if you enjoy this video, guys, likes are appreciated and subscribers are always welcome. I'd love to get to know you as you join our community here, so go ahead and hit both of those buttons down below. So without much further ado, guys, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Alright, I've downloaded some energy into my brain with my favorite caffeinated beverage. Let's go ahead and dive on into this, guys. As you know, Bitcoin has been in pullback for the last 5 months or so. We've rallied up to $14,000, and from there, we've pulled back quite substantially. In fact, from top to bottom, we pulled back 53%. On the surface, the fact that we didn't rally all the way to the all-time high, we bounced and only got to 14K, not all the way to all-time high, then had a 5-month pullback, it looks bad. And in fact, if you compare the time period in history that we're about to look at, this part of the market over here to this part of the market over here, you're going to see one striking difference. Back then, Bitcoin didn't really fall below the 20 weekly exponential moving average. This time we did. So what gives? Why are we even comparing these two markets? Well, guys, I'd like to postulate that Bitcoin is in exactly the same spot now as it was back then in June and July of 2016. Why do I say that? Well, first and foremost, let's look at retracement from all-time high. Back during this point in history, Bitcoin was retraced about 35% from all-time high when it stopped its rally. And from the previous all-time high to the bottom of this market where Bitcoin fell down to $475, Bitcoin pulled back about 60% from the all-time high. Similarly, in our current market, Bitcoin pulled back from all-time high about 30% when we ran to $14,000. Furthermore, Bitcoin pulled back about 67% when it actually fell all the way down, assuming $6,500 is our bottom. So right off the bat, those numbers look pretty familiar to what happened in June and July of 2016. And it's not just that, guys. The RSIs got overextended. They pulled back to levels of support. The MACD started to go bullish after crossing bearish. As we can see in this point in the market, Bitcoin was in a bit of a sideways correction. We had crossed bearish on the MACD and then went bullish back here in June to rally up to this. From there, we went bearish and eventually corrected and went bullish again and started on the rest of the bull market. A similar thing looks to be playing out here where Bitcoin crossed bearish in a little pullback following this period in the market, and now we're moving into a point where MACD is more than likely going to start curving bullish again. Not only that, guys, remember to a couple videos back, in fact, it was this video right here where we talked about the 50 and the 100 simple weekly moving averages crossing. In that video, we talked about these two moving averages right here and how they look to be crossing each other, what is called a golden cross. That has only ever happened once in the history of Bitcoin, and let me tell you where it happened. It happened back here in June and July of 2016. Right there, and boom, we rallied. Well, guys, that same kind of cross is happening right now, and it looks like Bitcoin is trying to put a bottom in. So yes, these two markets look relatively similar based on retracement from all-time high. We could also look at the distance from the end of the accumulation phase by measuring it like this. We're looking at about 250 days to the top there, and then we're looking at about 150 days to 200 days, depending on where you pull that. It looks relatively similar. It looks like we're in the first stage of a bull market in both of these situations. But for the hawk-eyed of you out there, you'll probably notice that there is a pretty striking difference between these two markets. You will notice that back over here, Bitcoin had one rally to get out of the accumulation phase, traded sideways, and then had another one. These were two very separate rallies separated by several months of sideways trading. So what gives? Why is Bitcoin only having one run up here and then one pullback? How is this the same if Bitcoin has combined two run-ups into one? Guys, I'd say it's the same because no matter how you slice it, both of these rallies are the beginning of bull markets. We can see, based on a lot of different technical indicators, that we started a bull market back around the beginning of April of this year, and the same thing is true towards the end of 2015, back in 2015. It is not bad news that Bitcoin went into one rally and then a second rally back over here, and we only did it in one. It's actually some of the most bullish news that we have seen all year, and nobody's talking about it. What do I mean? I mean this, guys. For Bitcoin to rally back up to being 30% retraced from all-time high back in 2015, it took 260 days. This time we rallied all the way back up there in 147. Furthermore, for Bitcoin to get that close to all-time high again, Bitcoin had to go into two rallies. This time we only went into one. And what that means, guys, that means that the fundamentals are stronger this time than they were the last time. Bitcoin managed to have one gigantic run. We're talking about a 300% rally in the span of about 4 or 5 months, where in this case we had a 300% rally again, but it took nearly twice as long. So yes, these two markets are slightly different. Yes, this market over here was in 2 phases. The one that we're in right now was in 1, but that's a good thing. Keep in mind, guys, let me show you this. The fundamentals for Bitcoin are better at the beginning of this market than they were during the last. First and foremost, our bear market was not as bad as the one in 2013 and 14. If you guys were in the market back in 2013 and 14, tell people in the comment section down below just how bad this bear market was. It was very bad. You see this vertical line right there? That was from this, the Mt. Gox hack, the most iconic exchange hack, where a huge percentage of all Bitcoin went missing and got stolen. Over 850,000 Bitcoin had been stolen. To this day, Mt. Gox is still a news story because they are trying to fix the problems that happened over 5 years ago. It was half a decade ago, and the market is still feeling ramifications from this. When Mt. Gox got hacked, guys, Bitcoin had just started a bear market, and then a sizable percentage of all Bitcoin in existence vanished off of one of the largest exchanges on the market. Furthermore, guys, back then, when Bitcoin was moving into this bear market and this accumulation phase, Bitcoin did not have anywhere near the attention, the regulatory understanding, or the fundamental development that it does now. Lightning Network didn't exist back then. Most altcoins didn't exist back then. Most governments didn't care about Bitcoin, which you could say that's a good or a bad thing, but for the sake of adoption, it's a bad thing. Bitcoin did not have a lot of fundamentals to ride on back then. Compared to this market, the reason we pulled back from $20,000 was simply put, because we got overextended. It wasn't because of the youth of the space, it was because Bitcoin got overextended. The only reason that Bitcoin has been in pullback and trading sideways for the last 2 years is because of boredom. But let me tell you something, guys. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is not boring. It's just the way the market moves. But let me tell you guys something. The reason that Bitcoin's been pulling back here for the last 2 years is not because of a fundamental problem like when Mt. Gox got hacked or when a lot of other things were happening back then. The reason Bitcoin is pulling back is because Bitcoin needs time to recover. We rallied so quickly. And guys, by the way, even during this time period back in June and July, after Bitcoin had started a new bull market, people were still saying that Bitcoin is going to die. When Bitcoin was trading at $635 in 2016, people were talking about Bitcoin being doomed. Bitcoin will expire the very day the first quantum computer appears. Well, it's 5 years later and we're still doing all right. It will be doomed, Tomlinson says. Any disruption needs the consensus of the Bitcoin community that can't even be realized when it comes to the transaction limit problem. That's a relatively simple problem compared to redoing the entire digital signature method. Furthermore, Bitcoin was supposed to change the world. What happened? By Vox, of all people, the most reliable name in news. I think Bitcoin has stalled out, said Nathaniel Popper, a reporter for the New York Times who wrote a book about Bitcoin in 2014. What went wrong? The Bitcoin community has been hampered by a dysfunctional culture that is growing increasingly hostile towards experimentation. That has made it difficult for the Bitcoin network to keep up with changing market demands. Oh look, Bitcoin kept up with changing market demands. Wow! But guys, all of this is well and good, but what does this actually mean for Bitcoin? Okay, Bitcoin is in a similar place now to where it was in 2016. Bitcoin is in the first stages of a bull market when the fundamentals are better now than they ever have been. What does it mean? The Bitcoin halving is coming up. Bitcoin should be running back to all-time high in 2020. What does all of this mean? What does it mean? Why is it important? It means patience, guys. You have to understand something. Bitcoin is still in the early stages of a bull market. The 2016-17 bull market lasted for 800 days. We've been in this one for 266. There is a lot more room to run. It means that Bitcoin is more bullish now than it ever has been in the history of the cryptocurrency. It's just going to take time for that momentum to rebuild. It means patience. Well, what about the halving, guys? What does that mean? Look, I mean, the halving happened right over here. Bitcoin had a huge run up and then Bitcoin fell off. The halving's in 6 months. Are we going to have a fall off when Bitcoin runs up to the halving? Guys, here's what it means. It means patience. Well, hang on a minute, Jeb. What about this? It took 2 years after Bitcoin started this new bull market to hit the all-time high again and then go on to make money. What does that mean? Does it mean that Bitcoin is going to be hitting $20,000 again at the end of 2020? Is that what that means? I'll tell you what it means, guys. You ready for it? It means patience. Guys, I preach it and I preach it and I preach it, and I will never climb down off of my soapbox because of it. It means patience. I know you guys are getting tired of hearing it, but you have to realize something. It doesn't matter where the bottom is on Bitcoin. It really doesn't. I think the bottom's around $6,500, but is that really what we're interested in? Are we really interested in whether or not Bitcoin is going to bottom out at $6,500 or $6,000 or $5,500? Or are we interested in where we're going to be in 10 years? Because I don't know about you guys, I've found that some of the most successful people in the world are able to execute something called delayed gratification, and they can be happy with working today and being rewarded 20 years from now, not working today and being rewarded 10 minutes from now. Are we really so interested in where Bitcoin puts in a bottom right now that we can't look at the long-term picture and realize that Bitcoin has a huge future ahead of it? The reason that many of us have trouble with that is because we have trouble with patience. So that's all well and good, Jeb. What do we do now that we know we need to have patience? Here's what we all need to work on. We need to work on dollar cost averaging. I dollar cost average. It's really simple. It takes you 5 minutes. Go sign up for Coinbase. Go to their buy tab, select automatic trades, select it once every week, select an amount of money that you want to put in on the day that you're making that position every single week, and you will be dollar cost averaging until the end of time. It's really easy to set up dollar cost averaging. Make a Coinbase account, use the link down below, you'll get 10 bucks after you spend 100 bucks. Start dollar cost averaging. If you don't want to dollar cost average, start investing. If you guys believe in this market, then you need to be investing in this market. I'm not going to tell you whether or not to invest in this market, but if you profess to be a Bitcoin maximalist, if you profess to love Bitcoin and to look forward to the future of this cryptocurrency, you need to be investing in it. Put your money where your mouth is. Have patience and realize that those returns are going to take a long time to be realized. What else do we need to do? We need to be learning as quickly as possible. You need to be researching the markets every single day. And no, I'm not going into a sales pitch. You need to be learning and researching and studying these markets every single day. You need to devote time in your schedule every day to read cryptocurrency news, to watch cryptocurrency YouTube, to talk in cryptocurrency Discord servers. We have 2 of them linked down below. You need to be devoting time to educating yourself on this space. Here's what else we need to do, guys. We need to be cautious. Because when I say patience, some people say, okay, well, I'll just set a long trade with 3x leverage and not touch it for 2 years. Or I'll just make an investment and I'll just come back to it someday. You need to realize that the bottom might not be right here. Guys, I think the bottom's at 6,500. But it's very possible that we don't repeat history exactly. I mean, for example, we had to have 2 run-ups over here, and in this case, we only had 1. We fell below the 20 weekly exponential moving average here, as we did not back over here. It's very possible in this market that Bitcoin pulls back to the 200 weekly simple moving average and bounces from there. We need to be cautious with our trades. Being patient is one thing, but you need to be cautious also, because if you don't have anything to let grow because you lost all your money leverage trading, what's the point of being patient if 1,000% return on 0 is 0? And one of the most important things to remember in cryptocurrency markets is this, guys. If you are in this market and you're watching this video and you understand everything I've talked about, it probably means that you have been researching these markets for a while. It probably means that you have a dream of becoming successful in these markets. As you guys know, I've been reading through the book Think and Grow Rich for the last couple of days. I'm going to be reading from page 48 here. The world has become accustomed to new discoveries. Nay, it has shown a willingness to reward the dreamer who gives the world a new idea. Satoshi Nakamoto, for example. The greatest achievement was, at first, and for a time, but a dream. The oak sleeps in the acorn, the bird waits in the egg, and the highest vision of the soul, a waking angel stirs. Dreams are the seedlings of reality. Awake, arise, and assert yourself, you dreamers of the world. Your star is now in ascendancy. The World Depression brought the opportunity you have been waiting for. It taught people humility, tolerance, and open-mindedness. The world is filled with abundance of opportunity, which the dreamers of the past never knew. Guys, you have to realize something. No matter how bad the cryptocurrency market looks right now, we have more opportunity than anyone in the history of humankind. You must not become weighed down by the doubts of your mind or the inequities of the life which you were born into. The only thing that matters is your dream. And if your dream is to become successful in cryptocurrency markets, then you must not let anything stop you. Every single overnight success story was preceded by decades of long nights and hard works in the pursuit of a dream. For the first time in human history, anyone can make a lasting impact on the world without being born into royalty or wealth. So if it is truly your dream to become successful in cryptocurrency markets and business and entrepreneurship, then you owe it to yourself and the world to be satisfied with nothing short but exactly what you set out to do. And with that said, guys, I do want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.